Do you feel like you took a wrong turn in life? Welcome to Tomorrow's Motivations, where we talk with people who educate, motivate, and captivate you with inspirational stories. Here's Dontrell.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's episode. I would like to welcome a gentleman who is a self-proclaimed proud father of four, works in the automotive industry as an outside sales rep, and enjoyed his college experience attending BYU-Idaho. Without further ado, please let me introduce Mr. Mark Hayward. All right, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dontrell.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show, man. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to come and talk with me. I know you always have a lot going on, huge family, and just always in the grind, working hard to provide and do your dream. So thank you again for doing this with me.
My pleasure, Dontrell.
You know, I wanted to have the opportunity to share your story on this podcast because you've been someone that I've known for a very long time. I think we can safely say it's been well over a decade.
Definitely.
And when I first met you, I remember being just young adult, just trying to figure things out, wondering what life had in store. And I met you when you were here doing a lot of good service for our church and being just the awesome guy that you are. And I remember a long time ago learning that if I wanted to really achieve big things, that I needed to take small steps. And you encouraged me to go out and to really be myself, to go out into the mission field for the church. And you always welcomed me when I was there, you know, working with you as a full-time missionary. So all of these years later, I look at your life and look at what you've been able to accomplish for yourself, and it is really amazing. And so I wanted to start off our interview by just having you talk a little bit about how you personally define success for yourself.
The way I define success is seeing something and then deciding to do it and then following through on that thing. Because oftentimes, you know, it can be something small, it can be something big, but we have to first make that decision to do it, and then once we are done with it, we can look back and say, hey, I did that. I'm proud of myself for doing that.
That's right. So in your life, how have you seen that when you've been able to make decisions? I mean, has it been something that's always naturally come easy for you, or is it something that you had to learn and acquire over time?
You know, honestly, I think it's something that I'm still learning, you know, each and every day, because, you know, there's certain days where I have more motivation than other days. And, you know, there's days where I write things down and say, I'm going to accomplish this. And then there's other days where, you know, I just struggle to get going. So, you know, you got to take each day as it comes, and you got to just do it and make it happen.
What are some things that you would say have been big motivators for you to really push yourself and stretch yourself to achieve some of your personal goals that you've had?
You know, one of the things that I've seen and has helped me is I've wanted to stretch myself. I've wanted to do things that I didn't think I could do. So a few years ago, I chose to run a half marathon. And once I accomplished that, I decided, hey, I ran a half marathon. Maybe I'll run a full marathon. And then I ran a full marathon. And I was like, well, if I did one, maybe I could do two. And I did a second marathon. And then I was like, well, maybe I can do one more because there's a certain one that I want to do down in St. George. I did that one as well. And one thing I learned, you know, along that process is that the first one was probably the best one. And that's because I put in extra effort. The other two I did well, but I didn't do as well because, you know, I didn't put in the training that I previously on the first one. So, but the one thing that I think about and what I see is I was able to run a marathon, and I'm not a runner. I never wanted to run. It was not my thing. And it was one of those things I had to get out there, wake up early, push myself, and do it. And I was able to achieve it. And it's one of those things where many of us can achieve things that we don't think we can do if we just get out there and try it. And it's going to be different for each one of us.
That is so true because speaking for myself, I know I am not a runner either. So I give you so much credit for being able to push yourself and to achieve that goal. What has been some personal examples in your life that has navigated you down to the path of where you find yourself now in your current career?
As far as my current career, been kind of interesting because when I was in college, I didn't really know what I was going to do for a career. I knew that I liked the automotive field, but past that, I really didn't know what opportunities were there. So what I did is I started at the bottom. The place that I work is one of the technical support representatives. And then from there, I had the opportunity to become an inside sales rep and to work with some of our outside sales reps at our company. And then just a few years ago, had the opportunity to move into outside sales. So it's one of those things that just kind of was a process, and one of those things that, in a way, just kind of happened, step by step.
Did you always have a love for that field of auto mechanics?
Oh, definitely. As a young child, I loved cars, and oftentimes, when we would drive down the road, I would read the back of the car, and then as I learned how to read, I would say, "Hey, that's a Chevy Impala, or that's a Ford Mustang, or that's a Chevy Silverado." So as I looked at these cars, from a kid's perspective, I ended up learning what they were, and then later in life, my family would ask me, "What's that car?" Well, that's a '64 Chevy Nova. Well, how do you know that? Well, it's got these lights, and it's got, this grill and these, characteristics. So, it's something I've always enjoyed, and it's one of those things where I still enjoy it. And, I'll hear a certain engine, and I just get excited to hear the rumble of certain big block engines, or certain engines with turbos, or a variety of different vehicles. But yeah, that's something I've always really enjoyed, something I've always liked. I like other things, but it's probably the one thing that I've had the most passion for.
The thing that excites you and just makes you look forward to each day?
Yeah, for the most part, it's pretty nice to be able to be in an industry where we help people enjoy their vehicles and keep that joy alive. And some of these vehicles are like these people's children because they've spent so much time with them and so much money to them and blood, sweat, and tears, on them. So I enjoy that, especially when I go to events and things, and I'm able to talk to people who are very passionate about their vehicles.
Just hearing the way that you describe, just in so vivid detail of the aspects of the cars that you see, that you work on, I can tell that it is something that you're passionate about. And I would say also that that's very fortunate that you were able to recognize that, so early on in your life, as a young boy, to see that that's what you liked. What, if any, opposition have you found that you've had to overcome to be able to achieve your goal of being successful in that industry?
I think one of the biggest things is overcoming myself. Naturally, I'm more of an introvert. And if you know many salespeople are more of an extrovert, type personality. So that job makes me get out of my comfort zone, to call people on the phone and talk to them about products for cars, or to approach a perfect stranger at an event and tell them about a Jeep product. It's also, I would say, something that my church has helped me with as well, because in our church, we often have to do things that make us uncomfortable socially, in the aspect of we need to be leaders and we have to talk to people, and sometimes we don't want to talk to people. But as we see that that's going to help us be better people and help other people be better people, that we just have to do it. Sometimes we have to get over being an introvert, in order to make a career or to accomplish things, in our church life as well.
Agreed, absolutely. And what would you say has been the biggest growth that you've noticed in yourself even in the last 5 years from doing what you do every day and really continuing to stretch yourself in that goal?
I think the biggest thing for me is being able to look back and see where you've been and where you're going. That's probably one of the biggest things. And then the other thing is eating some humble pie sometimes, because sometimes you can be successful at work and busy at work, but at the end of the day, you come home and you need to be a good dad. And sometimes, no matter how successful you are in business or in your career, to me, it's more important to be successful at home and to be a good dad, and to be a good dad even when I'm tired and I'm ornery and in my antisocial mood.
How do you find that your faith and your, I guess, focus has been able to help you balance a healthy work life and career life?
I think the biggest thing for me, and probably the biggest thing, that I learned from the church we go to, is that it's all about family. And I think that helps me keep things in perspective.
Yes, being able to have the perspective of what is most important definitely would help you be able to just feel that gratitude every day for what you do have.
Yeah, one thing too that, often comes to my mind is that it helps me to be a better person. And I think that's one of the most, important things about religion, is that if it helps you be a better person, then it's a good thing for you.
Yes, and one thing that I've noticed about you, and especially after knowing you for so many years, yes, it's true you say you were an introvert, but you were also a very confident and happy person. You were always optimistic and had such a great outlook on things, even when sometimes I remember seeing the work that you were doing and thinking, wow, that's so challenging, that's so difficult. I don't know if I'd be able to do that. And, at that time, I really felt that way. But I just would always notice just how you would say, oh, yeah, this event wasn't necessarily fun, or this wasn't a great experience, but this happened, or this came out of it. How do you find that being optimistic and having, such a good viewpoint in life has helped you in being successful and just everything that you do?
Naturally, throughout my life, I have been an optimist and tried to look at the silver lining in things. And I think as you go through life, that gets harder and harder. I think as, a young man, it was much easier for me. Now that I'm a little bit older, it's much, much harder. But, when I do work hard to stay positive and to be kind to others, it goes a long way, because I think a lot of times people are very negative and we live in a very negative world. And I think if we can just spread a little bit more positivity, that, make life easier for those around us. I think that's one of those things I learned as a small child is, hey, I've got a smile, and when I smile at others, they smile back at me sometimes, and it makes them feel better. And there's been days where I didn't want to smile, but I've done it anyways, and it's helped people stay positive, and it's helped me stay positive, because if you're down on the world and just have a gloomy outlook on everything, then life's not much fun. But life is fun, and you just got to find those fun moments in life. Find something to smile about. Even if it's something small, it's going to make you feel better.
I know that you love service and serving people, especially in your profession. What would be some advice that you would give to someone if they were coming into your office and, they just opened up to you and said, I've always liked, working in this field, but I don't know how to get started, or how could I be able to be successful in doing what I feel passionate about, just as you have? Like, what would be some advice you would leave with someone?
The best advice I could give is to just do it. Honestly, in many things in life, we are just too afraid to take that step. We're too afraid to take that, leap of faith. So what I would say is just put yourself out there. If you're a young person who's getting ready to start your career, build a resume, get that resume out there. send it to, many different companies. Who knows what opportunities will come from that. That's kind of what I did, and how I got my job. I sent resumes to companies that I thought were cool. At the time, the company that I thought was pretty neat was a company called Edge Products out of Ogden, Utah. And then one of the salespeople there said, "Hey, got your resume. I'll get it to our tech support, manager." And then, a couple months later, or maybe even a month later, the tech support manager said, "Hey, when you're done with school, if you're still interested in, working for us, come see me." So, I'd honestly say sometimes you just got to go. You got to go and do. And if you go and do, then, you're going to be better off than those that just sit there waiting for something to happen to them. I have a phrase that I often tell people: you don't know if you don't go.
I like that. That's awesome. You don't know if you don't go. You're still a very, young guy, still in your prime. And I know that it's easy sometimes in life. You'll hear sometimes people say, "Oh, I wish that I had done this," or "I regret that I didn't try a certain thing," that they didn't take that initial advice that you just mentioned about just doing it and taking that step forward. What would be something that you would want to leave as a legacy to those that you've been able to help in your community, in church, or even in your family? What would be something that you would hope that they would learn and take away from your life's example?
I hope that the biggest thing that they learn from my life and the example that I try to be is that service is fun. If you want to feel good about yourself, go and serve other people. That's really, I think, one of the secrets to life is service, and that helps you be a happier person. The other thing is try to spread as much goodness as you can, because there's too many people spreading stuff that's not good and negativity. So spread as much sunshine as you can, and that way we will be in a happier place and be able to help people, get through those hard days.
My friend, thank you so much for sharing these insights and some of your life's experiences. And you're absolutely right. I think we all definitely can do our parts to bring that ray of sunshine to those that we have in our world and in our community. I want you to know that you've definitely done that for me in my life and our time that we've had together as friends. And I really appreciate it. And I know that for everyone listening, I'm sure that you would have definitely been a ray of sunshine to those that are joining us. So thank you.
Thank you, Dontrell.
Thank you for listening to Morrow's Motivational Podcast. Please join us again next time.
Wow, something is really different on the growler. Really different on the growler. Really different on the growler.